Welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast. Jeff Sofer and Jonathan Wolfson are brothers and business partners of the top landscaping company, Nature's Experts. Nature's Experts is home to 6 companies that cater to all your outdoor needs. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan, simply visit us at www.naturesexperts.com. On the podcast, Jeff and Jonathan bring together other business owners and entrepreneurs to share with you how they developed a prosperous company and how you can too. You will gain insights and meaningful advice on creating the building blocks to success and longevity in the entrepreneurial realm. And now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sofer and Jonathan Wolfson.
Danny, welcome to the Cultivating Success podcast. Happy to have you here today.
Thank you very much.
Dive deep into the real estate consulting, property management business.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be with you guys today.
Well, we definitely share a lot of clients, probably, and we share a lot of synergy because obviously, your property management business and consulting really is one of our services that we would perform for your customers, actually. So given that we do landscape maintenance and installations, we're actually we've never worked for you actually, but we're actually somebody who would be able to help you possibly in the future. So to me, it is very interesting for us to be able to have the opportunity to talk to someone new that, how they actually go through this process of managing and finding people and keeping people and building their network.
Absolutely. And when I would first, started to learn about you guys and hear about you, that's the first thing I thought is this is a great way to network, right? We're in the same world. We share a client pool of, upscale properties in great parts of South Florida. So I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I was going to ask you, is it just upscale? Like a lot of the business that we do is high end and ultra high end. It's not the only business that we do, but it is a nice sector of our business. Like I said, high end and ultra high end. So what would you classify yours as?
No, absolutely. I am all over the map. So I work with investors that have, 1 and 2 bedroom units that don't rent for very much. And I have properties just like what you're referring to,
Yes.
intercoastal point lots, where the landscaping is a major part of it. So my bread and butter is, typically the smaller single family home or townhouse that somebody owns and decides, hey, I'm not in a position to sell it today. Maybe the market's not right, or maybe I want to keep this as a long-term investment. And they give that to me to manage. So that's more my bread and butter.
Got it.
Let's start from the beginning because I feel like I probably jumped ahead just a little bit here. So Danny, if you would, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Absolutely. So my name is Danny Schwab. The name of my company is Key Renter Property Management. We manage, as I said, single family homes, condos, townhouses within all of Palm Beach County and Broward County.
How long have you been doing it for?
Well, property management has been my passion my entire life. I bought my first investment property in 1994 in Chicago, and the world's changed so many times since then. I moved to Florida with my family in 2016 and started a residential property management business. Most of my career before that was owning and managing properties for myself, and I decided to take that experience here to Florida to work for other people.
How did you get more and more clients? Is it just referrals, or how did you actually produce more income for yourself by getting, new clients?
Oh, absolutely. And this is always a question that we think about, right? Where does our new business come from? I think mainly it is, at this point in my career, it is mostly referrals. We obviously have a great online presence, very positive reviews, I think is the number one thing for any independent business owner is to have positive 5-star reviews on Google. But for me, I'm really about networking. I'm about getting out. I go to realtor events. I'm in a networking group. I try to meet as many people as possible that have the clients I want to meet, right? People like yourselves, you guys would be an awesome referral partner for me. My electrician, my, plumbers, I get referrals from them, but I also, really press the flesh and go to the Chamber of Commerce events and anywhere I can.
Sure.
Where, the idea like we all have, right? We want to be around high net worth individuals, right? And to be with the people they work with, the insurance brokers, mortgage brokers, and bankers.
Sure.
So I think that there's an interesting lesson here that I'm kind of taking. We almost got into it before the show started, is that, you're a real estate agent. Also, you have a brokerage firm. That's really not your main focus. You've chosen to take that skill that is an asset and then say, I want to be able to help people to buy and sell their house if they want it. But my primary focus and income driver is property maintenance. And property management, not maintenance, property management specifically is a reoccurring service. Mm-hmm. So you chose to go the route of, instead of a semi-reoccurring, like selling a home once every 5-10 years, whatever the cycle may be, to something where you're like, I want to be able to have that same one-time sale transaction, plus I want to add a component of reoccurringness to it for your income. Was that the thought behind it actually when you got started with doing this?
Absolutely. So I had amassed a pretty good portfolio of my own going into 2008. And if you guys remember, you guys seem a little young. There's a little correction in the market back in 2008. Right?
You said Jeff was young.
Yeah.
So at that point, I really had to reassess what I was doing. I had a lot of investment properties. I was doing some development and the idea of reoccurring income. Yeah. And my expertise was also going to a building, deciding what was the best use of that property. What was the cost to remodel it or update it enough so you can get a great tenant, right? And not just a tenant that's going to move in temporarily, have a revolving door, but someone that's going to really appreciate the property. Want to stay long-term. People hate to move. The older we get, moving becomes even more. So how do I do that? How do I project that to my owners, to tenants, to everybody? It's through hard work and working with great vendors. You got to provide an excellent product. But absolutely, the idea of reoccurring income, the idea of making a monthly management fee and making a small amount of fees on services we provide, being able to provide an excellent product and work with great people it's very positive. I've never been very successful sitting still or working in an office. So to me, being out in the field, meeting property owners, going to identify properties for investors that live out of state, that's fun for me.
Reoccurring revenue is I would say a pretty favorite thing of ours. That's like goes back an old long time with us. We like reoccurring
that's really
revenue.
Why with our business we've continued to want to grow and expand it is because it really is very reoccurring. There's also the idea of enhancements, new landscape installations, and of course organic growth.
Well, yeah, but you're just talking about one sector of the business. He should probably understand. So you have your reoccurring revenue in one form, unless there's another that you can tell me about. But and yet your management fees, our reoccurring revenue is like what John's saying is the landscape maintenance. And then in one of our other companies, it's the interior plantscape maintenance. So, you take care of interior plants, you deliver fresh flowers every week, orchid plants, etc., and you just maintain them. And then also our pest control and fertilization business, that's reoccurring also. So we've created and we have, we've acquired those businesses that are recurring, and we have, 3 different ones that do that. So it's very nice.
Absolutely. And it's a similar business model, right? Your clients typically pay you once a month. You provide base services for them on a monthly basis. And then obviously, as you said, enhanced services as well. For me, I look at it as multiple verticals as well as mine, right? A client for me could just be, hey, would you lease out our property on a one-time thing? We call it a lease only. We have other clients that want us to help them lease out the property and then manage it on a monthly basis, oversee vendors like yourselves, plumbers, electricians. Then we get our investor pool that wants us to identify the property, update the property so that it's then livable, then maintain the property, then eventually hopefully sell the property. So for me, there's many ways to work on it. And when you talk about, again, when you touch on where do you find clients and stuff like that, just like you guys, right? If you're out in the public and you're talking to people and you're proud of your services, like I can tell with you guys, you're very proud of what you do.
Yes, you better believe it.
You do a great job. So, for me, that's not selling. That's just providing a great product, and you're there for clients and anybody that needs it.
So Danny, you do a great job. Why would they leave you? Why would these clients leave you?
So we call it the churn rate, right? So you want to have a positive churn rate. So that people leave for many reasons. A lot of times people have to rent out their property because they can no longer afford to cover their taxes, mortgage, and insurance. So they move out for a while, maybe they switch jobs, and then they want to move back to it. Over the last 2 years, we've had such an increase in real estate values in South Florida that many of our clients have decided to cash out and use that money to move to another state or use that money to make home improvements. So people move back into the property, people sell, and every once in a while, someone decides to move on to greener pastures for whatever reasons there are. But it's a wonderful, as you know, it's been a great real estate market in South Florida. So there's a lot of turmoil in the great real estate markets.
Yeah.
I think that it's an interesting opportunity that you're kind of opening up or real estate agents around, that this is something else that, the real estate business, Jeff's son actually is a real estate agent as well. And, it starts off very slow.
Right.
And it definitely is hard to lose steam. So I think something that you do specifically really could be a tool to a lot of people to add verticals of something that it's hard work. You're a motivated person that likes to be busy
with high energy.
And if you're somebody who's a motivated person who likes to be busy, you can't make listings just like come out of thin air, right? But what you can do is that when you do get listings, you can obviously, every other, every 3, every 5, whatever, if you could add some different verticals like you have done or whatever, is really a very positive way that other real estate agents I could see, really grow and develop their business in the interim, depending what their focus is. Yours was on property management. Theirs could be on actual being a real estate agent. I feel like this is a really unbelievable lesson you could teach people.
Well, but that's a smart thing you're saying. That I think. So in other words, so what advice, Danny, would you give real estate agents, whoever they are and whatever age they are, if they want to have some other income that really is nice and goes along and is in synergy with being a real estate agent? How would they start a property management business? Is it that difficult to do? And how could they do that?
Well, I think that for real estate agents, there's a lot of different ways to answer this question. So for me, if I was talking to someone like your son, who's a young real estate agent, probably did pretty well over the last 2 years, but now they're looking at the next 12 months with high interest rates, a lot of contraction in the market, and saying, well, I'm going to have a slow 12 months. So what I would do, my advice to them would be, let's say working with me gets interested in property management. So the first thing I talk about is my real estate referral program with realtors, my realtor referral program, right?
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, absolutely. Realtors make money in leasing by getting they split the first month's rent. So when I'm leasing a property, I put it on the MLS, an upscale property in Delray that we're renting out. A realtor brings me a client. We sign a lease for 1 year. That realtor and I split 1 month's rent, right? That's the realtor referral program.
Right.
So for me, if I go to a young realtor and he's got clients out there that maybe over the last 8 to 10 months, they were talking about selling their property. Now they feel they can't get it. So they're not going to sell it right now. They're not sure what they're going to do. There's a lot of stress in that world. So you go to your client as a realtor and say, hey, let's rent out your property for 1 year. Let's make you money over the next year. I'll oversee that project for you. You'll get some nice rental income. 9 months from now, we can reassess the market and decide if we want to sell it. If we have a great tenant in place, maybe you want to rent it for a second year, right? Most realtors are not set up to operate a property management company. So I would take that client from the realtor. I would then give that realtor half of first month's rent. And I would lease it out for them. I'm a professional property manager. My background screening, social media background screening, everything I do to guarantee my tenant is going to be who he says he is and pay his rent on time. The realtor gets paid half a month's rent, just like they would. I will sign a contract with that realtor saying I will never buy or sell any real estate with your client. I'm not here to steal your business. I'm here to manage the property. And what I give to the owner of that property is I give them a guarantee the tenant will stay for 1 year and pay the rent. If not, place the next tenant for free and then not charge them another leasing fee. So the owner gets a guarantee, the realtor gets paid. Now the realtor and I are so-and-so partners. They're learning the property management business. They're using my lease that's written by an attorney, not by the Realtors Association that has no teeth. They're learning a lot about the process of how we collect first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit, how we provide to the owner liability insurance of $100,000 from the tenant, all the things we do to protect the owner, to make sure that they're satisfied, that realtor has. Now the realtor starts to develop clients and investors that are interested in property management. Now the realtor can pitch himself not only as a realtor, but as a one-stop shop for investors for property management. And from there, you start to learn the business. I don't think our business is the hardest business, the most intellectual business, just a lot of moving parts. And you've got to be able to have vendors, have professionals to take care of it.
Well, and like you said, you have to have a contract that has teeth because you have to be protected.
Right. And most contracts that we use as realtors from the Realtor Association does not have teeth. It is not there to protect the owner from tenants that might not be who they say they are. So for me, any realtor out there that's struggling right now that has clients that are unwilling to lower their price to the point it sells, talk to a professional property manager, reach out, partner with somebody like me to get your clients rented. You make money, they make money. The property can then get taken off the market and put back on down the road. And I think that's a great option.
So my question was not how they could work with you, although that's a really good option. My question is, if that real estate agent knows how to rent, does all that, he handles all that already, he or she, whatever. My question is, to any real estate agent, do you think it's difficult to just get clients to start managing and handling their properties for them? Being that you're a real estate agent, you kind of know how the world works there. Is it a hard thing to start up?
I think that what is lacking in most people is the motivation to put a team together, to put forth all the effort that's necessary, right? Most of what realtors don't want to do is beat the streets. They don't want to deal with maintenance and repairs. They don't want to deal with overnight issues. So
you consider yourself a resource, I'm sure. In other words, you
Absolutely.
have when you say your team, you're talking about you have someone who's going to be there who you can depend on to do the AC, someone who's an electrician, someone who's a plumber, someone who's a painter, someone who everything and anything. That's part of your team, right?
Right. Those are third-party vendors. And then we have some of those vendors that work for us full time. But I also have a full team of property managers. They go out and go to the property. They do the inspections. Realtors are very famous for putting a lockbox on the door and waiting for another realtor to go take care of it.
That's right.
It's there are two different types of people. There's the type of person who wants to be a realtor and sell a couple of houses a year. And it's really kind of a part-time job. Yeah. And then people that are property managers understand it comes with the territory. My phone calls are going to come between 5 and 8. You know what I mean? With the occasional one that's going to be really late, with the occasional one that's going to be really early. Yeah. But a lot of time you're working is when people aren't working. And you have to be available. Absolutely. It doesn't mean it's every single day. It doesn't mean it's every single hour from 5 to 8 that I'm making this window. Yeah. But it is a different mindset of person where I think that you're kind of outlining that, it's not something that people can't get into, but based upon how human nature is, people get into certain businesses for a reason. And a lot of people get into real estate because of sometimes the low output of time for money that you can make. And some people get into property management because of the reoccurring component, but it's a high output of time. But as you put out more time for a longer amount of time, your output actually starts to become significantly more because you have a compounding effect.
Absolutely. And my point was more also to the fact that as a realtor, if you have those clients right now and those properties aren't selling, you absolutely can turn those into rental properties as a realtor and hustle, right? What we like to say in property management is that air conditioners never break Monday at 9 a.m. Air conditioners break Saturday at midnight, right? Yeah. The toilet doesn't get backed up Tuesday at 2 o'clock when the plumber can come right over. So you have to have the resources, you have to have the team, you have to be able, as you alluded to, answer your phone and work hard. And your weekends sometimes aren't your weekends. Property management is a weekend business, but I think any realtor.
So is being a real estate agent if you're a full-time real estate agent.
Absolutely. And I think if you want to take it to the next level, see, historically, property management was kind of the lower rung of realty. Realtors that did leasing or handled property management were kind of below the upscale realtors selling.
It's changed. It's definitely changed. Yeah. It's almost something that's revered now and looked at as like.
You're the key holder now.
Key renter.
You're like the key, I guess the key renter. Like you're the key holder really for the property because you've now gained their trust. And for that person, that one person that you've made happy now, because you're a real estate agent and a property manager, you obviously, if you found that customer, Danny, you would be selling them and getting all of their referrals. So that one customer that you've now found that you treat really well being a property manager, every time they have a friend that needs to sell their house, they know that Danny here will take care of them.
Absolutely. And that one
John winked at you and he winked. Yeah, look at that. What does a bad day at work look like for you? Like a bad day at work?
A bad day at work is when, I'd say the worst days for us in property management are a really busy beginning of the month when we have multiple move-ins. We have a previous tenant that doesn't move out when they're supposed to. We have a new tenant that's looking to move in. The power does not get turned on. Power's easy. The water doesn't get turned on. You have a tenant move in. It's really dealing with people's expectations on the most stressful day of their life.
Right.
And typically moving is it. So to me, it's the fires and when they build up and build up.
The reason I'm asking is because I'm trying to decipher if it's, calamities or if they're just aggravations. Sound like you just have aggravations, and you could have a bunch of aggravations piled on one day.
And that's what it is. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's
and what's a good day? Like, not just an average day. What's a good day at work?
A good day at work happened to me this week. I was introduced to a client in Texas who's got 142 properties in 3 different areas in South Florida. And he's been dealing with multiple different people. And the areas that he's particularly looking in are all areas that I can manage in. I have
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a good day. How'd you get introduced to this person as a referral?
He was not a referral. He was actually called a colleague of mine after reading some reviews, and they passed on my cell phone number to him. So I assume he would have come to me through Google, but actually he was one step away and I was introduced to him. But taking him, go ahead, sir.
Is there a day when you're having a bad day that you ever feel like, gosh, I got to get out of this business and do something else? Does that ever cross your mind?
There's times where I feel like that it's too much and I'm not happy, but I've never had a moment where I felt like I wanted to do something else. And we all wish maybe that we had more sometimes, that we could go to the beach for the day. But no, I love what I do because I would not work well, as an entrepreneur. I don't work well for somebody else. I don't work well in an office or confined to one spot.
Why? Because you're headstrong, or because you just have your own ideas, or you feel like, you're better
All
off?
of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. I feel that if I go out and focus on the stuff that I want to do, that I'm going to be successful. So maybe it's stupidity or ultimate confidence or arrogance, but I've had a successful career. I was doing very well.
We're going to call it confidence, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was very successful in real estate. I got crushed in real estate in 2009, and then I built back my real estate business.
A lot of people say that, don't they?
So I've done it twice. So at this point, there is no.
A lot of people say that. Yeah.
Listen, building it back up better than what it was before. Ultimately, you know what I mean? You learn from your mistakes and then you build it back up again. And then, it's not a house of cards anymore. It's got a strong foundation.
Absolutely.
Which I think I'm ultimately piecing together, from what you literally just said right then, is that you had a business, you were doing great, selling and all that stuff with properties. And you realize that it's very volatile. I'm guessing that at the time you had purchased properties, and then when you got out of the properties, they didn't convert quite as well.
Or the values dropped so low.
The values dropped so significantly that I was upside down.
You couldn't get out of them. You know what I mean?
So what we call that in real estate is a short sale, right? You own a property. Now the value is much lower. So you sell the property back, but you're not making, it's a loss.
So what did you do? You just took your lumps?
Yeah, I took my lumps. I moved out of Chicago for a while. I was fortunate enough to meet a wonderful woman and got married in California and said, hey, I want to get back into my real estate career. I see a great opportunity in South Florida. And we moved from where we were living in California to South Florida. Sounds like getting back in the real estate career was the right thing for you. It was the right decision. Absolutely. It's always where I've felt the passion and the excitement. I've had a lot of other jobs. I've had a lot of other businesses, and it always came back to what I wanted to do. When someone's like, what's fun for you? What do you do? I love getting 20, 30, 40 listings and driving to the properties and identifying what would be the one that I would buy. What would I feel would be the best value. Right. So from what happened in 08, 09, have you gotten back into really real estate investing individually, or now do you do it with a group of people? It is a good question. So for me, that breaks down into two very easy ideas. I think the ultimate property to own is a property that's between, let's say, 12 and 27 units, 12 and 30 units. I think that's a very manageable property. I think if you're looking at areas, as you guys would know, maybe near east of A1A or east of, around the intercoastal in South Florida. East of A1A, you mean on the east side of A1A? Yeah. I mean, like, east of Dixie, let's say, east side of A1A, that's, kind of in the water. Where I live in Palm Beach Gardens, we got A1A's a little right. Right. Like in Jupiter, I know what you're saying. Exactly. I misspoke. You know what I mean? So upscale areas, I'd love to own a multifamily property, 12 to 24 units. I think that's a great partnership. I think getting into those deals with multiple people, therefore you're insulated when you have to replace a roof for 150,000. You got to put in all new
Right.
windows. So those are great long-term investments with partners. But I recently purchased a single family home that we're doing a $300,000 renovation, adding a master suite, adding additional bathrooms. And
do you use bank financing for that, or do you use private money?
Bank financing mostly. I really like to use equity in properties owned for, so you purchase the property through a traditional bank, and then you use equity in properties you already have to update those, right? To me, the only free money we get in the world is equity in properties we already own. We can take that out tax-free and use that to do additional real estate deals.
Right.
Smart. You're just, but you're refinancing at that time also too. So are you less inclined over this next year
because of where the
to
rates
be
are?
buying a new property?
Because of where the rates are?
Well, yeah.
That's a great question.
If you're pulling out money from another property that's appreciated, even at this time, pulling out but changing your interest rate really changes the dynamic of your money, because obviously your interest rate is indicative of ultimately your total purchase price that you actually invest into a property.
Right. So
what's your plan?
Right. So when you look at this today in the market, and you're taking out equity of a property that has a loan at 3%, and you're taking on a new loan that's at 7%. A lot of people would look at that and say, why would you do that? That's crazy. Now, interest rates fluctuate. 2 years from now, interest rates are going to come back down. Maybe it's 3 years. So you're taking out money at a higher interest rate. So the cost of money is higher, but inflation is also going up. So that money is worth more today than it will be next year. So to use that money to put in the bank or to sell your property, it doesn't make any sense. But if you're using that money to invest in another property, we're looking at the long-term game, right? Minimum of 10 years. Interest rates go up and down over 10-year periods, right?
How old are you?
I just turned 49.
Okay.
You're older than him, Jeff, and he said you were young.
I want to know how you have such dark hair. That's what I want to know.
I'm very fortunate to have
Touch of gray. You're fortunate because you buy Touch of Gray, or you're fortunate.
You're just jealous, Jeff.
I think
it sounds like there's a little bitterness there.
I think so.
I just
detect that in my tone. You can detect that in my tone. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's okay. You're looking at creating wealth, right?
Yeah.
We want to create wealth by owning real estate, letting somebody else pay our mortgage, taxes, insurance. We keep those properties in great condition.
Yep.
Down the road, it's a win. I mean, that's historically the American dream, right? We can transfer wealth.
Let me just interrupt you. So like in our businesses, for example, like we have all the properties that we own, we occupy. So technically it's the same thing that you're saying. The businesses have to rent from somewhere.
Right.
So they're paying us, they're paying the mortgage, they're paying the property taxes, they're paying the insurance, all that kind of stuff. Same thing. Just commercial.
That's commercial real estate versus residential, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to be overly concerned about what the interest rate is can be a detriment to your growth. Well, when we look at these times with the winter of an economy that we're facing right now, high interest rates, war in Ukraine, everything's crazy, COVID in China going rampant, they're not making iPhones anymore. There's all this panic. Now we're going to see properties in upscale areas decline. Then we're going to find properties in these upscale areas that need a lot of work.
Yeah.
They need a roof, need new windows.
Because people have let them go and they're not making the repairs.
The pool's a disaster, and $30,000 to fix the pool, people are quoting. So there's all this hesitancy. You find a great deal, you use equity in a property you have, you purchase that property, you fix it up, you turn that into a rental property that's bringing in income. You refinance 2 years down the road, it's a blip how much money you lost on that split of interest rates paying an extra.
But then you wait for the real estate market to turn around. You've rented it for the 2 years or 3 years, and then you go sell it.
Or you pull out equity again at that point and you buy another one, right?
Oh, because it's worth more money.
Because it's worth a lot more money.
My question then would be, in addition to that, so ultimately the moral of that is that that's not really, as far as you're concerned, you can't be worried about a short-term increase or a short-term increase to change your overall outcome in 10 years. Totally agree. So then my next question would be, is you're making the same decision right now, right? You're looking at a property to purchase. Given the fact that the interest rate is so high, right? What does that mean that your cap rate needs to be now? Or does it mean that your cap rate now is going to be lower because your expectation is that in 2 years you're going to refinance and then it's going to be at the rate you want? Or how do you look at properties in that way?
Yeah, I think you take cap rates out and you throw them out the window.
Actually, tell me where to look.
Right. So when you look at a cap rate over the last couple of years, we used to look at 8% to 10% to be it's a great deal if you buy it and it cash flows. Now, during the height of the pandemic, people are looking at 4% to be high, right? Now, as we get into higher interest rates, that cap rate's going to get higher, right? There's the 1% rule too. You buy something for 100,000, it brings in 1,000 a month. So there's all these things that traditionally investors use, and those are great tools if you're buying a $7 million 80-unit property, or if you're buying a condo to see if it's a value. But if you're looking at an upscale A+ area like where you guys are sitting right now, and you're looking at a single family home that's coveted, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 bedrooms, the cap rate means nothing. It's where are you buying it versus how much you can eventually rent it for, not what it would rent for today. It's the add value principle, right? So you buy it, you fix it up. Now you're in a great school district in an upscale area of Delray Beach. That single family home is going to rent for a crazy amount of money today. There's so many people that have moved into Palm Beach County. There aren't a ton of single family homes to rent for people moving here still from New York and Boston and Philly and Connecticut. So you throw out those numbers, working with an expert like myself to show you rental values of your neighbors that have already remodeled their homes, right? It's easy to pull comps of different properties that are the same square footage and bedrooms, but are you looking at the comps of how new is their kitchen? Do they have granite, stainless steel? Do they have quartz? Are there fancy floors? Are there carpet? So if you can look at where the market exactly is with upscale properties and what they would rent for, you know that property that you're buying and you putting money into it is going to rent for.
Here's where my mind goes then, right? So obviously, you're looking at a property and you're obviously not throwing cap rates out the window, but you're saying to yourself, you know what, I want to get a rate of return, right? Your first initial thing is I'm buying something, I want to get a rate of return.
Sure.
And then your second one is, all right, so if I do this or that, or if I even keep it the same, what does the trajectory look like for the property? And it is a little bit of a gut feeling that you have to go with of where do you think the market is trending? Why would this location be getting hotter? Are you pulling into the neighborhood right now and you see like 20 homes that are under construction? And if there's 20 homes that are under construction, that certainly means that this property value is going to be going up. And you're using that to say, I think that in 3 years, I'm going to be able to increase the rent from $1,000 to $1,300 and have a 30% increase. So if I can get a 30% increase, who cares about my 6% interest rate? Is that kind of what you're?
Absolutely. And then we know that 6% interest rate, whether it's 1, 2, 3 years, is going to come back down again, right? But the point of it is that also from the interest rate perspective is you always want equity. So who cares what your interest rate is? It's going to go up and down. But every time it gets to a certain amount where you can pull out 150, 200,000 in equity, you're going to pull it out. And then use that money again.
It's the old adage, buy low, sell high.
Absolutely.
Your opinion is really to take on the chin, so to speak, the interest and use this time right now to buy low and then to.
One day you'll sell high.
Well, no, then when interest rates go down, the property value automatically goes up because the illusion that the property is worth
even
more.
if the interest rates don't go down, though, your property value still may go up before the interest rates go down.
It will go down eventually.
But I'm saying it may go up before the interest rates go down.
You guys are both right, but what we really want to focus on that I don't think you're saying is the add value. So you're buying this property because it has trickled down in price because it hasn't been updated. People are passing on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So the ones that get updated, so you renovate and he does that and he's saying those command now more than ever, those command the most money. So in other words, whatever you buy, he's saying you really need to renovate. You really need to make it like a primo.
Well, so then,
as you guys know, when you see a primo property that's already been updated, it is
it's like moving. I mean, people are like, I'll pay because they just don't want to even go through the aggravation. And then they also don't want to live in a place that they feel is below their sort of,
Absolutely. And you put yourself in the mindset of a wealthy person relocating from New York or Boston or one of these cities to come down and say, okay, I want to meet a Florida contractor. I want to spend a year going through permits and renovations and buying materials. Nobody wants to deal with that unless that's what you're comfortable doing. You've got kids, you've got your own business. You want to move down here into a rent-ready property where your neighbors all have beautiful homes and everything's gorgeous. So you throw out.
It's so true. It's so true what you're saying.
You guys are in the field every day. You know what it's like to pull into an upscale community and see pickup trucks and cement mixers, and you can't even get through to the house you're going to because there's so much construction in certain communities.
Listen, just looking at the landscape, if you pull up to a house and there's curb appeal and the place looks really presentable and the landscaping looks really nice, you're already set for being like, oh my gosh, I can see myself living here. This is so lovely, or, you know, whatever. And a lot of times you pull up to some of these houses, even if it's like a really expensive house or something, and it looks like shit from the outside, and it's sort of like a turnoff.
Absolutely.
Would this mean, like, how I'm hearing this information is that you're really saying that this next particular wave, as interest rates are higher, you think that the better value is that the home prices are going to be coming down, but the value for a nice, clean, move-in ready home is still going to keep remaining high. It might not be, you know, the actual house value high, but the rent portion might be high. So if someone's selling the actual house, it's not going to sell in a week anymore.
Right.
It's not going to sell in 2.
Right.
So your home price is going to is down.
Right.
So if you buy a mediocre home and you upgrade, you think you still can get the high demand and rent. Is that kind
I
of
do, but also to take it to another level is when I'm saying you go into this upscale community and there's all these beautiful homes, and then you see the one over there with the horrible landscaping, like the Wicked Witch of the West has been living there. And it's got the fake weird brick on it, and
every street has one.
Right.
Every street has one.
Right. So then you take that everybody else has passed on because it's too much work, and you get that at a deeper discount because we're going into the winter of economy. So you're getting that at a great deal, and then you can make that just to match all the other beautiful homes in the area.
Listen, you're not saying anything that's not like the particular thing you're saying is very smart, but it's funny. We all kind of know this, you know, that you want to buy in like the nicest community, the worst looking house in the nicest community because there's so much room to make it.
But
nicer.
I think his advice, though, specifically, though, is spot on in the sense of everyone is right when everything is all good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like last year, anyone who's in real estate, everyone's a fucking expert.
Yeah.
You're not really an expert just because you bought your house 3 years ago and you made $150,000. It doesn't mean you're an expert. That just means you're lucky. That's what the economy was.
Right.
And moving forward, you know, I think that there are every not couple of years, but, you know, every decade, every 5 years, there is a major opportunity zone that everyone gets the opportunity to get, which is, I think, what we had. And the thing is, then you make your regular money, and then the opportunity will happen again on that bubble, and you have to make sure to capitalize on it.
Yeah, 2 things I just want to quickly say. When you look at just the cap rates and numbers, you're forgetting that the equity in the property is what you all want. And equity is very hard to measure for the future. And that's what you end up with, is the equity not getting stuck on the numbers of what it is today. And secondly, just because that house is in that great community and it's a dog right now, it doesn't mean you should buy it. You know, you should still deal with real estate professionals, professional inspectors, and make sure you're not buying something that's a tear down and not something you can rehab, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we see clients buying properties and we get in there and it's too far gone.
There's a methodology to it, because exactly, you can get yourself into somewhere like, oh, I got this like dump and look, I can renovate it, but you don't realize it's a dump, but it's like a far gone, dilapidated, completely like over with dump.
The money pit, as we like to say.
Right. Yes, right.
And that's where you really need to rely on a professional. And I think touching on realtors again, is that it's a great opportunity for realtors that want to get out there and hustle and want to make cold calling, right? It's almost like a thing, I think, with the generation below me, the newer realtors in their 30s, they think it's all technology based, or, get online and it's lead generation. And
you still have to physically like get the fuck out there.
Absolutely. My thing to realtors is call every for sale by owner out there that you see. Stop by the house, come by, drop off flowers and say, hey, I just like to hear about what issues you have selling. What issues you have renting? Do you need any advice? What problems have you had? Do you have a bad tenant? I think as a realtor or a property manager, if you go to people that aren't professional and you ask them, not trying to get their business, just talk to them about what their struggles are. And if you give them advice, I think all of that
comes a chance back. And then there's a chance that you get the business. I
think you get the business 20% of the time. And I think those numbers are way too low.
You go to 10 houses, you get 2.
Get 2.
I think that's unbelievable advice. And I think this conversation has been excellent. I think that you've really added a lot of value to me personally. I think you've also added a lot of value to anyone who's in the real estate industry or obviously looking forward into what's possible with this next, climate of home remodeling, renovation, purchasing, renting, owning, and equity. So I really would like if everyone can get your information so they can connect with you, because I think that you are a great resource that is really a unicorn in the sense of, you're not looking to just make a transaction happen. You're looking to make sure that you have a long-term healthy customer that has a good long-term plan. I can just tell that that's what you're in business for. And how you look at things, like you said, it's a little different. You're not like, by literally telling somebody you can throw the cap rate out the window, some people live and die by that, which I think it definitely is a good indicator, but it's not the only indicator. You obviously have to have your threshold of like, how much extra cash do you have? How much equity you're going to have when you put down the property.
What risk are you willing to take?
All that kind of stuff, but it's not the only thing. So I'd love it, Danny, if you can give everyone your information and they can reach out to you if they ever have any questions.
Absolutely. So in either website is great for us, but we're at KeyRenterSouthFlorida.com and we're at KeyRenterFortLauderdale.com. My name is Danny Schwab. Would love to talk to anybody. And hey, to me, it's about karma. It's about giving back, giving out positive energy. People come to you with all kinds of issues and problems. I love to help people, especially people that are first time or second time. You don't need me as your property manager. Happy to help you grow your portfolio. And you hopefully
I can tell they do need you, actually, because you know what? I think just from this conversation, you're not a salesman, you are somebody who's looking
you're looking to
really
educate,
to help people find the best possible solution. And listen, you're allowed to make money in it. That's what we're all in it for.
But a lot of these people, like what he's saying is if they don't need him, he's hoping that if he gives them the information, plain spoken, and just educates them, that maybe they will eventually be like, hey, remember that guy that was just like willing to help? Maybe I can,
right.
maybe
Now we have five
for me to use him. So a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road,
Right. And then they have 5 properties and then somebody's coming out with a broken toilet.
Right. Like they've done well. They've expanded. They did 1, 2, 3, and now they feel like they need him because they've.
Absolutely. And, I just want to say, it's really a pleasure to meet you guys. I think that we have a lot of synergy, as you said, from the jump. I'd love to meet you guys for a coffee or take you to lunch. And
of course.
See how we can network together. I have a lot of clients that are in need of your services.
Sounds great to me.
Sounds fantastic.
Awesome.
Danny, thank you again for joining us on the Cultivating Success podcast. It was a pleasure to have you here today.
I really appreciate
it. Nice to meet
you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys very much.
This has been the Cultivating Success podcast with Jeff Sofer and Jonathan Wolfson. To learn more about Jeff and Jonathan and their businesses, visit www.naturesexperts.com.